how this association started. In Coorg, from maybe from 60s itself, people were growing anthuriums as an ornamental plant, just like garden plants. It was not into commercial entity. So slowly they started, when all the flowers are getting traded, why not anthurium? So at that point of time, about 50 growers from Coorg, they have taken a small stride of growing in about polyhouses, say about 1,000 square meter, 2,000 square meter. They all came together and they thought of starting an association. To tell you, at that point of time, there was not a parameter, because like any other flower, anthurium was never traded. So nobody knew what is the price and at what price the flower has to be traded. That was the situation. And in the year 1994, under the able leadership of Mr. Gopinath, our organization was mooted, and today we are about 55 people. Of course, whatever choppy waters, you all floriculture people who are sailing here, the same sort of a situation we also feel. Probably we feel it a little more harsher than you people. I will tell you why. So the first question for any commodity comes is, who can adopt, who can grow? Who can adopt to newer methods of cultivation practices? Because all the floricultural activities can't be done by everybody. We need a lot of consistency and should be able to dedicate ample time in the farm. Usually any of the farming activity, it can wait. For tilling, maybe 1 week later we can do. But what happens in a situation of a wilt or something like that, some serious situation, we will have to do on the same day. So that means to say, we have to be very much dedicated and we have to do it and we should have the time for it. Who has explored floriculture market? Because any commodity for that matter sells. Let us take the example of coffee. Because we are all from coffee country, we are there also, we are finding it very challenging to sustain. Irrespective of the market price, the product gets absorbed. Let us say a situation of 20,000 rupees a bag. Today, the same bag is costing around 8,000 rupees, and if I want to sell it, I can sell it in just 25 minutes. Because there is market. Who plays with the price is a very difficult task to understand. If there is no market, then nobody should buy it, right? But still people buy it. When you want to sell, you can sell it. That is the today's market scenario. Whereas floriculture, in Gerbera carnations, I have seen many of my friends, Prasanna Kumar and all those people I am in close touch. They say even in Gerbera carnations, when it is put in the market at 4 o'clock in the morning, it sells. Whereas anthurium, if you feel that the price per stem is 50 paisa, we will not be able to sell at all. So let us say 2 months of bad time for you, let us say slump in the market, we will not be able to sell at all. One advantage what we have got on that is, for you Gerbera carnation roses, you will have to harvest and put it to the market, whereas we can keep it on the plant for about 20 days. So that is an extra advantage what anthurium has. And should be able to withstand the vagaries and fluctuation. This is what I was talking about. Recession years, because like ice cream is not a staple food, whereas rice is. If there is a crisis in the country, people will tend to buy rice rather than going for that ice cream. Ice cream takes the last stance. Like that, anthurium is a little premium flower compared to all the other flowers. So the price is also a little different, and I will also talk about it in the future. So all these fluctuations, a person who wants to take up this activity has to understand. Because most of the time we do it like, why buying a car? My friend has bought it, I will also buy. I don't know what is my requirement. That sort of activity should not happen here. We have to be very specific and very clear about it. And next question is, can I grow in my plantation? Because this is also very important. Average temperature hovers around 14 to 35 degrees centigrade. This is very important. In Coorg, what happens is, in specific to Markara, because not all the places in Coorg, Markara is about 4,000 feet above the sea level. Our winter temperature came down to 5 degrees about 2 years back. Immediately I got a call from Anthurium, Holland, how the plants are surviving. They are also monitoring it, because their reputation and their quality of plants is also at stake. They also wanted to know. Thank God the plants did not die. So for 2 months we hardly had any production. The plant became, because I am not an expert in agriculture sciences, I am an engineer, only I can understand is the logic. 2 months, no production, all the leaves turned pale. And we were it was a very tough time, because we thought of we are going to lose all the capital on the plants, but somehow we came back. Wind and gusts are not severe. In see, yesterday also Rajiv Rai was talking about wind. I feel it is not the wind which will blow a polyhouse. It is the, let us say, 100 kilometer speed wind and a gust which is at 120 feet, which just pushes it. A uniform wind may not harm a polyhouse, but a gust along with the wind will take it off. And we have seen that in Coorg. In rainy season, you will have to come to Markara and see how the wind is. So there you can very clearly see what is wind. Wind is a continuous breeze. Gust is something which pushes the wind, which adds to the wind. So wind and gusts are not severe. Swirl wind, unidirectional wind, because in many places what happens is the wind direction keeps changing, and there it is very difficult to open the polyhouse, because the sawtooth has to be en route wind. Because in Coorg we have a western wind, so we have a unidirectional wind. That is where the wind blows at the harshest, and we don't have to worry much about the wind in Coorg. But in rest of the places, if you are thinking, look at your wind pattern, quality of water. EC has to be looked at. EC and pH is a very major characteristic which we have to look at, and close proximity to market and good mode of transport. See, nowadays, I think 300-400 kilometers is not at all a big situation, because we have buses which get connected to all the places. There are people who put Anthurium boxes from Cochin and reaches Bangalore in just a day. Overnight journey is what it takes, and Anthurium doesn't need cold chain also. So what should be the minimum area? See, the thing is, we can't straight away jump and say that, I want to go in about, say, 10,000 square meter. We have to start in a very small project pertaining to my place and then understand what it is. It is like Japanese. They believe in 2 days of sharpening of an axe and about 10 minutes to cut. That is their strategy. We should be like that. Let us put some 1 or 2 years, put 1,000 square meter polyhouse, understand how this commodity goes, and then after that you can take your call. And the minimum and the investment scale is around 16 to 20 lakhs. Why I say 16 to 20 lakhs is, beyond 20 lakhs for 1,000 square meters, or roughly to say 80 lakhs if it crosses per acre, this activity is not feasible. It won't be a bankable project. You will not get the bank approval also for this, because bankers believe in the projections what we give, and in that they look at DSCR, they look at IRR, and all those things will not look rosy, and if it doesn't look good, they will not support it. And what should be the slope? Of course, you people, people around Bangalore, you don't have the same situation as we got. You may have about 100 acres of property, but it will always be slopey. So a unidirectional sloped property you can always start with. And what should be the minimum number of plants per variety and the ratio of different colors? Because in Anthurium, earlier days we used to have about 45 to 50% in red, and about white about 20 to 25%. Now red, even you can go up to 70%. Let us say 5,000 plants, minimum one variety should have. Otherwise you will not have enough flowers to put it in a box. So minimum 5,000 plants you should have. Let us say if you are putting a small polyhouse of say 10,000 plants if you are going for, that means to say you can't go for more than 2 colors. That's it. And each variety you should have about 5,000 plants. And these are certain varieties, certain colors which sells in the market. I don't go into detail about all that. And ideal structure. Structure has to be chosen now, because varied weather conditions, varied temperature conditions, and all those things have to be looked at. Let us take a first case of moderate rainfall, say 40 to 50 inches of rain in the rainy season. It is a low rainfall area. At that place, you can easily go for a shade net house. Polyhouse is not needed there. And the permitting, light plays a very prominent role in Anthurium. So if it crosses 25,000 lux, then we had it. There are situations wherein the poly sheet has been just cut in the wind or due to some mechanical damage. Half a day of exposure to sunlight, we have lost all the plants. So that is the situation, because it can't take light. And to give you a small example of what is light, in Markara, the light intensity, or in Coorg, on a high 4,000 feet level, light intensity will be very high. You will be surprised about it. 1,35,000 lux will be the light in Madikeri, whereas I can check in Bangalore, it will not be about 1,20,000, 25,000 maximum. I am talking about light intensity in the afternoon at 12 o'clock when the sun is directly onto my head, and definitely my head will shine because I am bald. So that is the light. And at 1,25,000 lux, if you want to bring it down to 25,000 lux, you should have if you are going for a single shade net, then you should have a 80% shade net. So that 80% means 80% if it cuts, 1,25,000 lux will come to around 25,000 lux. That is the requirement of shade net house. This shade net house, I think it is around 20 years now. We have used cables in this, and even now we have the shade net and shade net house. So 20 years back itself we have done, Rajivji. It is not because of any innovation or anything. We wanted to go for a very cheap, very economical. I will not say cheap. Cheap means usually cheap equal to what is the bad quality will also come. It is we wanted to go for a very economical construction, and we went for that, and we did not get the permission. You can see a tree there. You know why the tree is there? I did not get the permission to cut it. So that became a part of the polyhouse. Sorry, shade net house. Now what happens in a situation when we have rainfall beyond 50 inches? So that is the time when we have all sorts of problems. Any plant for that matter, fungal and bacterial diseases always gets triggered when there is excess moisture, whatever crop it may be. So at that point of time, we have to have a required protection, and here I can say shade net house minimum 4 meter height. This is one of the low rainfall with high temperature. Why? Because quattro option, I will also show you the photograph. In quattro option, the ventilation is very good, but only thing is it can't take wind. It can't take wind. So quattro option can be looked at if the rainfall is little less and if the temperature is very high. That is the case. And then heavy rainfall 50 inches and above in rainy season with high temperature, and also that can be looked at. Option A, quattro option, the height of the polyhouse is just 4.5 meter for end. It is made for maximum aeration. And the other one is a sawtooth design, that is a 6 meter, that usually you all people use it. And there is, we have one more polyhouse. We have made it as 8 meters now. 8 meters with about 1.5 feet of ventilation on top. This we are putting up in temperate areas like Mr. Suraj, one of my fellow grower is here. There the temperature even touches 38 to 39 degrees. So there we are going for that polyhouse, which is 8 meters in height. I have all the photographs with me. I will show it to you. So this is the quattro option which I was talking about. See, usually we tend to level the place. Here we did not do that. We just made a uniform slope, and on that we have done this polyhouse. And you can also see that we have done a tunneling here. Just like that, yesterday also Rajiv Roy was talking about the direction of polyhouse. Actually the tunnel, from this area we get the wind, monsoon wind, that is western wind. So that is why we had to go for the tunneling. If we had not done that, then this polyhouse would have been flown. This polyhouse has been erected in the year 2008, and till now we have the polyhouse intact, and even polysheet is also not changed in this. And this is how we do our beds. You can see the ventilation very clearly. You can see it is about 1.5 meters. And the distance between the poles is 6 meters. And the length, as much as you want, you can go in this. And this is how we do our bed preparation. And per acre, because everything costs money, what happens is for a bed, whatever may be the length, the supports have to be provided. Let us say 120 feet bed or a 20 feet bed. We have to provide it with 4 poles and 4 supporting pillars. Everything costs money. So what we made is, we made it like, if the number of beds, you can see the beds are there, 60 to 65. If the number of beds gets increased, then our cost on bed preparation will also increase. And ideal size of the bed will be, I am looking at the perspective of irrigation. Irrigation also be properly made for this. 80 to 120 feet in length we have to do. That is the maximum. And this is how we do our, we don't use soil. It is cocoa shell and coir pith. That's all. Even we have, I will also show you some photographs. The cocoa shell also doesn't touch the ground. And the requirement of cocoa shell and coir pith, about 17 loads of cocoa shell we need. Because cocoa shells come in double loads. In a lorry it comes in a double size. And coir pith, they say about 15 to 17 loads. That comes in a regular body size loads. And this is a production what we get. in a quattro option polyhouse. And here you can see this is a quattro option with a movable sunscreen inside. Because what happens is, I told you 25,000 lux is the light which we have to have inside the polyhouse. In Coorg, in rainy season for 4 months, the outside light itself will be not more than 35,000 lux. So how can we give it? So we can't have a fixed shade net. So for that reason, what we have done is, we have a shade net underneath. So our poly sheet is supplied by Vinegar Plastics. That is a 200 micron that fog black 5-layer anti-drip poly sheet. So, and here that cuts about 55% light, that poly sheet, and that shade net is around 35%. So that takes care of our work. So whenever we have cloudy conditions, we just pull the shade net. And this is how we manage our light in rainy days. And here you can see, this is a 6-meter polyhouse. In this 6-meter polyhouse, you can see both the shade nets are inside. You know, we have one shade net which is stitched permanently. There is one more shade net which is moving. You can see 2 shade nets. This polyhouse is made in a place where the temperature doesn't go beyond 30 degrees. So that is why we don't need a shade net on top. The moment we put the shade net on top, we have one more challenge. That is, our poly sheets gets clogged very fast. Very fast it will get clogged because of dust and other things which gets collected inside. So that is why we avoided putting a shade net on top in this polyhouse. You can see one fixed one is about 25%, the movable one is 35%. Depending on our requirement, we keep moving it. And here you can see, this is a regular sawtooth design. This is a 8-meter polyhouse. And from the gutter height from the ground is about 5.5 meter. And here you can see, this is Mr. Suraj's project. This is a 8-meter polyhouse with a 50% shade net on top, and we have one more shade net underneath. And this also has seen 1 year. It has seen a lot of winds and gusts. Nothing has happened. We have just passed cables on top of the trusses, and nothing has happened as of now. And you can also see, Rajiv Roy was mentioning about ventilation. So here you can see, earlier days we used to have the side walls up to 5 feet or 5.5 feet. So nowadays we have brought it down in all the polyhouses. So now it is hardly bare minimal requirement. You know, even if a little down also we can do. But because of the undulations in that area, we can't do that. That is why we are restricted to that size. And here you can see the planted ones. This is a 4,400 square meter polyhouse. And here also you can see, nowadays what we have started doing is, in earlier days we used to put dry coconut. Nowadays what we are doing, we are drenching it with water, we are doing it like this. And here, this is the rain irrigation system what we have. This is put by Spec Agro Bangalore. And what we use is a Roundo DB fogger, a supplement of, earlier days Plas and Plaster was supplying that Roundo DB fogger. Its discharge is around about 23 to 24 liters. And of course, irrigation, fertigation, all our floriculture is here, you all know what it is. I will not go into that. And we have used a dosatron for injecting fertilizer into the system. Even though it cost a little more, I think this setup itself cost us about 50,000 rupees to put. Because Venturis hardly cost about say 6,000 to 7,000 rupees. This has costed us 50,000 rupees, but less headaches. Only thing is, the water which is passed through this has to be very clearly filtered. Otherwise, we will have tough time, it won't last long. So this dosatron is a pharmaceutical grade machine. They use it in pharmaceuticals. The same thing we are using for in the floriculture.
What does it do?
Fertilizer injection into the system. Basically, it is for fertigation. That is why I said Venturi. Variable Venturi is also used for fertilizer, injecting into the system. That works on the principle of sucking. This is the principle of continuous dosing. This is called as dosing. Because it is just like a bulldozer which doses the soil, this doses the water, equal known quantity of water. So that is why it is used. So quantity of water required. Every fertilizer application directly correlates with the quantity of water. Why? Because EC and pH have to be maintained at all levels. So at that point of time, what we felt is, earlier days we did not have a parameter. How much fertilizer we have to give to Anthurium. As per the Anthurium standards, we can give up to 2,800 kilos of fertilizer per acre per year. That is their dosage. But can we give it? Next question is, what should be the water which has to be pumped along with the fertilizer so that the EC and pH is generally maintained at stupid levels? Why? Because most of us, we will not be there to run our system. We will have some boys there. Most of the time what happens is that we have to delegate the work to bring it down to stupid levels and delegate. Otherwise, people will tend to make mistakes. Even now we still have those problems. And how to know about the fertilizer dosage? We knew that our substrate and the substrate which is used by Anthurium are very different. Anthurium people, they use lava rock, lignite and all those things. They are very porous. They leave out water very quickly. The substrate what we have is also semi-porous or semi-porous substrate which retains moisture but not in full. So if the quantity of water is more, then I'm inviting trouble. Lot of disease and pest attack will be there. So how to cut it? Then we analyzed what should be the maximum quantity of water which I can give it to the system. It came to around 12,000 liters once in 2 days. So 12,000 liters means 12 kg of fertilizer I can put into the system. So that is the standard what we maintain. And now we are giving about 2,000 kg of fertilizer, NPK fertilizer per acre per year. And that is roughly about 1 kg of liquid fertilizer in 1,000 liters of water. And 1 acre, our water requirement is 15 lakh liters, that's all, per year. That is the requirement. And this is our fertilizer requirement. I will not go deep into that. We give our fertilizer on alternative days. 1 day fertilizer, next day rest. So that is how we do that. And why we do that is because it becomes easier for us to manage things. If there is a system failure also, still we can run it in a couple of days. And on alternative days, what we do is we just give about 5 minutes of irrigation. And in Anthurium, we just irrigate not more than 10 to 12 minutes per day. That's it. That will take care of the job. And here you can see some machineries are getting erected. And of course, I was talking about the jut. The juts are placed at 2.5 feet apart because the jut throws about 5 feet of diameter. And just to have that overlapping effect, we place the jets around 2.5 feet from each other, and each jet throws out around 20 to 25 liters of water, and about the pressure requirement is about 3.45 to 4 kg per cm square. That is the pressure requirement. At that pressure, that jet throws about this much of water. We have spoken enough in all the, this is the bacterial blight, which usually we see in the variety called as Anthura, that tropical. And I will not go deep into that, and I will just fly across. And Pythium rot, all these diseases and fungus are due to water, excess water. And if the water is judicially managed, and of course these mites and aphids, that of course like in a dry spell it attacks us more. And the red spider mite, we were talking about the same situation we also have, and that is also under control. And also we also have caterpillars, we have thrips, we have snails and slugs. Of course, many a times we handpick those things. And spray schedule. In Anthurium cultivation, we don't do curative sprays. We only do preventive sprays. So that means to say, we hardly have any diseases in the last 3-4 years. Because we follow this principle, follow this system. Every grower in our association, they follow that very straightforward, and it is helping us. And we take around 50 sprays in a year. And our requirement of chemical is not more than 8 barrels per year per round. If it is spraying and drenching, because many of these fungal sprays, we do stem drenching, and on the bed also we spray. If we are spraying only to the plant, it will be just 3 to 3.5 barrels. So that is our requirement. And here also, we have made it very simple. For a layman to understand, January 1st, there you can see number 1 is made. So he will have to do benelate. The requirement is 400 grams in 200 liters to be sprayed on stem and bed. Like this we have made. No spray is repeated. Only one type of spray is done about 3 to 4 times in a year. That's it. We don't repeat sprays often. And as of now, touch wood, it is working fine for us. And now comes the harvesting. Harvesting, of course, you can see a small tub there. He has formalin dipped into that. Every stem which he cuts, he will have to dip, he have to inoculate, and he have to cut it. And here, the Anthurium compared to other flowers goes by flower size and the stem length. A minimum stem length has to be there. And here you can see below the candle the measurements are done. And here you can see the stem length is also checked. And the packing. Now then, after the washing, the flower will be washed with a cotton plug, and also here you can see he is putting a plastic, and the cotton plug is put onto the other side. And this is how the packing is done. This is called as a inner box. And this is how one box of Anthurium comes to Bangalore or any other place. Now we will talk about economics of Anthurium. Number of plants per acre will be around 40,000 plants. It is close to 10 plants per square meter. That is gross. If you're talking about planting distance, that is, per square meter, if you look at gross is 10 plants. Net, net if you look at, it will be around 14 plants per square meter. And the number of yielding plants, what happens is not all plants will yield. Some sort of, maybe some mortality will be there, or due to some reason, the previous year we have planted some, and that also is yet to yield. Let us say about 35,000 plants will yield at any point of time. That is how we have to do our calculation. As per Anthura, they say their plants will give about 6 stems. We have seen, we have bought many, everybody owns a car. The specification says, I also have a Honda. They say it will give about 17, but it is giving me 13. Whom to blame? They will very clearly say it is your driving is not good or something like that. Just like that, the ideal weather conditions, what they say, and the weather conditions, what we have, are very different. Because of 4 months, we will not have the required light at all. So in spite of that, we are doing a good job. We are getting about 5 number of saleable flowers, and productivity with good yield potential will be for 6 years. The gestation period from the planting to the first yield will be around 1 year. From there, the 6th year, it will have a very good yield. And project is viable provided we market our produce at least at the benchmark prices. What happens is, there you can see we have made this flower prices. Rest of the commodity in the market sells as per the market says. Market, whatever is the price, maybe 50 paisa or 5 rupees or 10 rupees for a gerbera, it is totally driven by the market. Whereas in Anthurium, since I have already told you, we did not have a pricing mechanism. At that point of time, our association thought these are the prices with which we can do business. Because ultimately, we are growing for ourselves. In most of the cases, what happens is, we do a project, due to some reason, there will be an increase in capital cost, which always leads to extra inflow of money, and finally, we will be working only for the bank. We will not get anything money for us at all. Just to counter all that, these are the prices which we sell, and we are less than this price, you will not get Coorg flowers or Coorg Floriculture Association members flowers. And here you can see the productivity. You can see there on the top column, you can see the sizes are mentioned and the prices are also mentioned there. And the production will be like this from the second year. First year is the gestation period. Second year we get, I have mentioned it as 0.5 because not all plants produce minis. On the third year, economy will be worked out like this. Because the size of the stem will also be big. Because on the third year, we will not get any mini size flower at all. Small will be about 1.5, you can see. Medium flower is about 2.1, and large and jumbo will be more or less the same price. So our economy works out like this. On the same price guidelines, we will make around 3 rupees 48 paisa per stem into 1,70,000 stem. That will be our margin. Here, if you look at the investment economics calculated, first is the interest to the bank, then interest on the promoter share. That we usually don't do. Because we have put our money, 25%. That also needs to be replicated. Interest on our amount, then interest on promoter share, then interest capitalization. This we have to do. There is cost for money. Whatever we spend on the farm, on a capital or a recurring cost, we have to calculate that. Then the installment and return over the investment. I have put my 25%. That also I have to get back. Because my plant will only be there yielding provided everything goes well only for 6 years. After that, what I have will be a old weak polyhouse. That's it. the plant will not be there. So within that 6 years, I have to get back my investment, and my investment, along with the bank, and depreciation also have to be looked at, and then accrued interest will not come here. Recurring expenditure. Per stem, my actual recurring expenditure is 4 rupees 50 paisa. If you ask me what is the cost of producing one stem, farm gate, not considering any of the other costs, is 4 rupees 50 paisa. Usually people have this calculation. You are spending only 4 rupees 50 paisa and still you say you are not doing good. But there you can see there are many other costs which adds up and which will bring the figure to 16 rupees 22 paisa. As of now, our price realization is about 19 rupees 70 paisa, and we are getting a leverage of 3 rupees 48 paisa. This is present economy. So of course, hopefully with the proper understanding with the traders, we will be able to increase our prices from the next quarter. Let us see how it goes. And just to give you a hint of what Anthurium arrangements can do, I will just post a couple of arrangements for you. And this is my address. Presently, I am serving as the president, Coorg Floriculture Association. I am placed in Madikeri. This is my home address, and you can also note down my mobile number if you feel like. So I'm sure, I think my presentation was very clear to everyone. Thank you, everyone. And also, I have one big round of applause to Rajiv Roy and all his teammates for giving us an opportunity. Thank you, Rajiv.
Thank you. Thank you, Vishwanth ji. It was such a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.